Cubs fans, and welcome to a brand new edition and brand new look of Cubs on Tap. Hope you guys like the new background. A big shout out to Mr. Lefevre, Mr. Brian, our media goat. Cheers to you, my friend. Did a really nice job on the background. It looks fantastic. The new logo, the blue wood, looks really cool. You can't see it behind our two big heads, but there's some gray and red striping in there as well. It looks pretty good. But before we get into Cubs baseball talk, I'm Ron Luce, joined by the Juice Man. It's the Juice and Luce show. We're back. And, buddy, before we get into this game, because I know you and I talked, we both got some yelling to do. I got the logo so far almost off my hat today. It's holding on by a thread because that's where my sanity is right now with this team. But I wanted to ask you, how are you doing today, sir?
Ron, are you a big movie guy? Like, you watch movies pretty often?
I rewatch a lot of the same movies. You can ask any of my friends.
Okay.
Like, they'll say, like, have you seen this? And I'm like, no. Like, I'm a terrible movie watcher overall, though.
Maybe some of our listeners can relate to this, though. But when you watch a movie, like you start watching something that you've never seen before, and somebody told you or maybe you read that it's good, and you're watching it. It's a 2-hour movie, and you watch like a half hour. And you're like, maybe it'll pick up. And then you get through that first hour, and now you're pot committed. Like you're watching the rest of it. And then it gets all the way to the end of it. And then you just go, what the fuck did we just watch?
Yeah. Yep.
That's exactly what this baseball game was today. Like, I think all 1,500 people who were at the game today, which was pretty clear, should be refunded all of their money for having to go through that. Pretty bad. That was just not fun. And I was lucky enough to catch 6 innings of it in the car. I don't know if I'm this upset about it because I was up at 4:00 in the morning to go do my day job, or what we watched was really that bad. And I'm glad that you're past the booze and I got some things to say, because it just confirms that my thought process is warranted on this.
1,000%. I'm absolutely right there with you. So for those, obviously I have a day job. Most of us do. People know that. But I was off. I was volunteering today. I was doing good for the community. I felt good about myself for doing some stuff for some people. And, I came home and I'm like, yeah, maybe the Cubs won't disappoint me. And I turned the game on and it's 1-0. PJ Higgins had already hit his sac fly. Nico had already scored.
Real quick, though, you glossed over the fact that you turned it on and you had to realize, oh, shit, it's on YouTube TV, which is
I did do that. I turned on Marquee Sports Network and I was
too.
And I turned it on and I'm like, why are they shut? And then I went, oh, fuck, it's on YouTube. That was literally my exact reaction.
I looked at Apple first and then I looked at YouTube. I'm like, oh.
I was like, damn it. I was like, I forgot this game because I remember seeing it when Marquee always shows the graphic of the upcoming games. And I remember seeing this one as a YouTube game and it I was like, oh, that's going to suck. And then I totally forgot about it until today.
Mm-hmm.
Turned it on and I'm like, fuck, this sucks. All right, whatever. I'll watch it, which is fine though. Cause I usually have YouTube on during the day when I'm working anyway, music and stuff like that. So
nice.
I was like, oh, whatever, easy, pull it up. No big deal. And so watching, Red's tied. I'm like, shit. And then Seiya, my fly the W pick looked really fucking good this series, Juice. The power came around. He's been hitting the ball. Seiya Suzuki listens to Cubs on Tap too. It's not just Patrick Wisdong anymore because he's stepping up. He looks good. And then son of a fucking bitch, Mark Leiter. And you know what? I'm not even exclusively mad at Mark Leiter at this point.
No, I am.
I am, but I'm also mad at David Ross. And here's the reason for that, Juice. And we're going to dive right into it.
Please do.
I look at yesterday's box score, right? That was a blowout. Cubs weren't going to win that game.
No.
You pitched, the guys that you pitched, Newcomb pitched, whatever, fine. Why aren't you pitching? I know Leiter's been okay this season. I'm not going to sit here and pretend the guy's got a 9 ERA or something because he doesn't. But why not pitch Leiter in yesterday's game? Give me the kid in a high leverage situation. Where the fuck is Jeremiah Estrada today? And then because I know why he wasn't, because he pitched yesterday. But why is he pitching in a 7-1 blowout yesterday? Or 6-1 blowout, whatever the fuck it was at the time that he came in. Why? Why are you putting these kids that you call up, you put them on the 40-man? Why? You did it with Brandon Hughes, right? You gave Brandon Hughes a chance to come in high leverage situations and he performed.
Yeah.
And we saw him again today, and he performed. Why aren't we doing this with Jeremiah Estrada, who throws 98 regularly with the fastball?
Yeah.
Why? Why is he not getting a chance to close a game? Because guess what? If he blows it, at least we all go, at least Ross gave him the shot. Mm-hmm. No, instead you put in Mark Leiter, who not a shot at the guy, probably not with the team next year.
No.
Let's just call him my Radamatapia here. Let's just call a spade a spade. He's not with the fucking team next year. That honestly is what I think what pissed me off, Juice, because we got to see Manny Rod today. Love that. We got to see Hughes today. Love that. You know, I don't even hate the fact that what's his face? That Wick played, even though he blew a save.
Yeah, he sucks too.
Yeah, he gives me heartburn. You know, today's episode title is going to be "Pass the Pepto." I have heartburn. Let's see, pass the Pepto for our heartburn. Anyway,
there we go. Love the ticker.
Yeah, but like, son of a bitch, man. Like, today was the day I wanted to see Jeremiah Estrada. Today was the day I wanted to see the kid get a chance to close out a game, because I honestly think next year he could be the closer. I really do. He's got the stuff. He's got, again, he touches 98 regularly with a fastball. Like, that doesn't come around every day, right? Like, just damn it. Like, that's why I'm so mad. It's because you pitch him in a meaningless game yesterday where you're already losing. I can't do that anymore. I see my arm flap swinging around here. Like, he's pitching in a meaningless ball game yesterday, Juice. And then today, when like, this is a perfect test for the kid in a season that's already lost. No, instead you pitch a guy that's not even going to be on the fucking roster next year. And that is what made me so mad. And I like David Ross. He's right there. Everybody can see him over my shoulder now. He's screaming into your living room on a daily basis. But son of a bitch, dude, it's like, what? Again, if he's playing with the mindset of we need to see what these guys have and we have nothing to lose, then put the kid in. Yeah. That's the perfect chance to do it.
And Ron, he had 2 chances to do it. Like you mentioned that both Wick and Leiter pitched. So it's not just like one chance to throw the guy in. No, he had several opportunities to work him in there at the end of the ball game. And if you lose like you lost anyway with, Leiter out there, who cares? Like, at least he was out there and he got the reps. It's the same conversation that we've been having about Rafael Ortega playing like every day. It's
yes.
It's the exact same conversation. And
let Nelly V swim.
I'm starting to get like really pissed off about the fact that I don't know if David Ross is getting it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's a month left of the season. Who cares? Why not? You're eliminated from all of it. None of this matters. Literally, there were watching paint dry or waiting in a doctor's room or waiting room was more valuable than watching any of this today. Like, there were more, and all we are as Cub fans here, a lot of us have accepted the fact that they're not good, and this is like a rebuild, right? Yeah. There's no screaming at the top of their lungs anymore because we think we played our way into, some riches here. Right. And all we're asking David Ross to do is to play young players. And we keep getting misfits that aren't going to be on this team next year. And that's why you're frustrated. That's why I'm frustrated. Like, I don't care that they lost 2 out of 3 to the Reds. I could care less. None of that matters. None of these games are going to be remembered at all. And if they are, like maybe the Wisniewski one from a couple of nights, which is great. But today's ball game.
By the way, Juice, we will have to get your thoughts on Wisniewski because you've been deprived of being on the microphone. But continue. Sorry.
But like, and if you do remember this game, like if you come up to me and you're like, hey, remember that 4-3 loss? I'm going to send you emails to insane asylums because that's where you belong. So, yeah. And
everybody's going to remember it, Juice.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to remember it, Juice, because it was on YouTube TV.
Yeah. God, it makes my ears bleed. I'd rather, like, seriously, if they ever catch a terrorist, they should just put that in front of them and they'll fess up to whatever's going on, like, real quick. Like, that's how bad that YouTube broadcast is. It is god
Bad.
awful.
Well, and on top of it too, like the mic volume shit, like just the whole, like it's
Right?
not even just the
It
broadcasters,
sounds-
it's the broadcast itself is awful.
And I mean, I know we're a very professional company here at On Tap Sportsnet, but like I feel like we could do a better job of broadcasting that baseball game than they do.
Absolutely. And
I'm the last one to sit and be like, don't make my ears bleed to the broadcasters, because as you know, it's not an easy job to call anything in sports. There's
confirmed. I've tried calling soccer games, Juice, and as somebody who's never played the sport in my life, doesn't know enough to like feel competent. Sometimes there are some times where I feel like an idiot on the microphone.
But those guys who we listen to today are taking home a check. So, hey, thanks for, keeping somebody working. But God, that was just awful. Like there was so much bad about today's game that I think when Seiya Suzuki hit the home run, I'm like, yeah, it's great. They're winning the game, but please just end already. I've never gotten to the end of a baseball game and wanted somebody to single on the other team so bad than when Jonathan India drove in that run at the end of the game here, because I wanted it to be over. I really did. And I think that we want a lot of that to happen, because it's just not – they're not handling the end of this season like I want them to. Like Wisniewski came up and I was like, oh, he's coming out of the pen? Yeah, okay. I thought he was going to start. Why don't we just start him? Let him grab the ball. And I get, Wade Miley's, he's auditioning for teams, and fuck that. What gets you closer to a World Series? Having Wade Miley pitch after a rehab stint, or seeing what you have in Wisniewski? The latter. That's exactly what gets you closer today. Like there are things you can do in a lost season to bridge the gap closer to the competition. Mm-hmm. Those things are easy. It's pitching Estrada when it's a high leverage situation to see what you can do. It's playing Christopher Morel at third base more often so he has the instincts. It's having Wisniewski start a baseball game opposed to piggybacking off of Miley and then just having a strict pitch count. He could have had a strict pitch count by starting. Yeah. It absolutely could have. This series was so frustrating to me, not because they lost it, because of the way they lost it. And there just seems to be no incentive for David Ross to play these guys. There needs to be. And I don't know if maybe it's an in-house thing. Maybe the guys that were drooling over on this podcast are just guys. I hope that's not the case. And I hope I'm not, I haven't lost my mind on, the enamoring of a guy who's just not that great, because he's what I have to watch right now. But I truly don't think we're far off with the way that the guys have been playing and what we've seen. There's been spurts of guys that, Christopher Morel's been really good for a while. Wisniewski's, debut was fantastic. I want to see more of those moments. I want to see what they have, and I want these guys to have success. When you don't put them in the position to succeed, you're wasting reps, and that's exactly what has happened this whole series. And at the end of the year, it's just been frustrating to watch.
Oh, 1,000%. And I'm right there with you. Just like I think that's what's most infuriating, right? Is like, why isn't like I get it, right? Like and even to a fault with Wisniewski, right? Because he was coming out of the pen in AAA the last couple appearances, like kind of giving him the same role. Fine, whatever. As long as you're going to let the kid pitch like they did, right? They didn't pull him. They let him go all five. Cool. Love that. But to your point, right? Could do the same thing as a starter and go five, and then the bullpen comes in. However, I think it's like what you said, right, Juice? It's the not pitching these young guys in high leverage situations for guys that aren't going to be on the roster. It's not it, and again, I know I have the guy's jersey for fuck's sake, but like I would rather see Nelson Velasquez in center field every day than Rafael Ortega.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And everybody's like, well, they don't want Nelly V to struggle. No, I want him to struggle.
Yep.
I want him to face adversity. That's
Yep.
the point. That's how you grow as a player. Yeah, you need to face adversity. And like, guess what? I'm gonna spin it a little bit, Juice, because I'm really tired of yelling for bad reasons. I want to yell for good reasons. And I got one good reason I can yell about. Look at Seiya Suzuki.
Yeah.
They let him struggle, and he looks like he's finally kind of doing the readjustment now, right? Like, hey, he comes out hot. He was really good early. The league adjusted to him. Then he got hurt, right? Then he came back and started kind of figuring out again. Now he's starting to figure it out again. Mm-hmm. He's starting to readjust to the adjustment the league made on him. And that gives me faith as a Cubs fan that Seiya Suzuki is the right fielder for this team for the next 4 years after this one. That contract length, he's going to play it out. And sure, right, of course, guys could come up and force him out and they could trade him later, whatever. That's fine. But again, for the foreseeable future of the what we know now, Seiya Suzuki is the everyday right fielder. He's played great defense all season, and the bat is starting to come around. Had the big home run today in a clutch situation, too, by the way. Like, I know people are like, well, it wasn't in the ninth inning. It wasn't a walk-off. It could have been a fucking walk-off, more or less, had they shut it down at the top of the ninth. Yep. Right? Like, that's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of the bottom of the eighth. Like, bottom of the eighth scoring is like my favorite thing when the Cubs are at home. Because then I go, I don't have to shit bricks and anxiety in the bottom of the ninth. And on top of it, we could close out in the top of the ninth and we could sing Cubs Go even sooner. That's what I like when we're at home. And he did it. He came through in a mess. Yeah, and he came through in a massive situation. He got it done. And like, so I'm gonna take a shot, Juice. Just straight out the bottle today. It's this kind of day with the Anejo tequila. I'm taking a shot. One out of distress and one out of celebration. The distress is just praying that David Ross gets it at some point with these young kids and gives them opportunities to struggle and face adversity because that's going to help them grow as players. And I know Fly the Dub, good to see you again, friend, by the way, in the comments here with us says Morel's been a K machine over a month now. I agree, he has, but guess what? That's okay. Let him figure it out. If he's going to be a big leaguer, he needs to figure it out. That's just plain and simple, right? It's not participation trophies at the major league level. They don't just give it to you because congratulations, you're on the roster. No. You need to figure it the fuck out. Or another guy like you, Juice. You and I've sat here and talked about it all the time. You say it all the time. Creating competition in the pipeline at all these positions because it brings out the best in people. I completely agree. Nobody gets complacent then. You have to keep fighting for your job every single fucking day. So I'm taking a shot for that because I'm, as you can see, very flustered right now. Very flustered. But I'm also going to take a shot in celebration because my Fly the W pick not only looked good, but it looks like Seiya Suzuki's figuring it out. And Jake Bouge, good friend of the program over at the Dingers Boys. We love those guys. If you don't follow them now and you listen to us, please do because they're fantastic. But I was talking, I was tweeting with Jake from the Cubs on Tap Count during the game. And he goes, ladies and gentlemen, I think Seiya's figured it out. And I was like, yeah, agreed. I think he has too. Right? Then it's not just like, you know, it's not just that like, okay, he's the power's back, right? Like, no, but like when he's getting hits, even when the power isn't there, they're extra base hits, right? He's getting doubles. It's not just all singles and home runs, right? He's not the Chicago White Sox. It's not just singles and home runs. Extra base hits, doubles. Again, playing great defense in the outfield for the most part, right? And one of the hardest right fields in baseball, in my opinion. And I get Fly the Dub's point here too. He says you don't want to crush their confidence though, and I completely agree. But at the same time, sometimes sitting them on the bench does the exact same thing. Right. Yeah. Because then they're like, fuck, I'm doing so bad that you've elected to place somebody over me. So it's a delicate thing. And I think it's a lot of what David Ross still needs to figure out. But we have one guy who we think is figuring it out, which is fantastic. And they're actually letting him fucking play. And I know a lot of that is because they're paying him $17 million a year. But yeah, you should treat all these guys like this. But fuck, let Nelly V swim, right? Let Jeremiah Estrada close a game that you have a lead in. Like, you did it with Brandon Hughes. I was happy that they did it with Brandon Hughes. Put him in a high leverage situation and see what happens. Do it with the other fucking kids because we clearly saw today that Mark Leiter Jr. can't handle it. Cheers. Yeah, too, and like, I mean, just to play off of the Seiya and Morel and Nelly V thing, that looked like it was a lot of fun though. See, Anejo tequila, much smoother than like a Blanco. It doesn't have as much bite. It actually tastes almost like a whiskey. Yeah. And it's because it's aged. It's because it's aged in the barrel. It's good shit. Anyway, but just to play off of those three, you know, we're talking more in depth about, you know, Seiya figuring it out. But Seiya, he struggled, and he was a K machine as well for how many months? You know, that was May was rough to say.
And now he's made the adjustment. In my opinion, right now, the guys need to play because you're not sending them to AAA because the season's over. That's it. I mean, they have like a week left, if that. I think it's maybe a couple days.
It might be 2 at the AAA level because I know they extended the season.
But whatever.
I'll do
here
some
nor there.
research.
Here nor there. The season is essentially over there. So pretty much the reason you have guys like Morel and Nelly V up here is to get extra reps before you probably transfer them to Arizona to play in the fall league or, to get extra work in the offseason with, their player development. So I know Morel's sucked and he's been rough to see. But I'm almost relieved on that because he's had that success in the league to start. And now he's seeing the way that other teams have identified his weakness. So now going in the offseason, he needs to get all these reps over the course of this month to figure out, hey, this is what they're doing to me. That way, maybe he overcomes it in the next 2 weeks. And now he has a good end of the season and he has that confidence going into, next year. Or maybe he struggles with it. But the more that he sees the way that they're working him, I think the better off he is going into the offseason because at least he'll know, hey, they're working me away or they're working me high in the zone. They're trying to jam me. Like these are the things that he just hasn't had the reps at the major league level to identify what he's got to really work on too. I mean, he's only been here for 4 months, 3 months?
Yeah, he came up in mid to late May.
Yeah. So I mean, there's a lot that I think that he needs to, work on going into the offseason, but I think the reps are going to help him identify which things he needs to do. And it's going to give him a better idea of what it looks like on the major league field. Getting that, hard breaking stuff and seeing, fastballs high and up in the zone that they're challenging him with. That is exactly what he needs to work on going into the offseason. And I think he only gets better by seeing it. But I agree. I think it's a fine line. You definitely can't play the game of throw him out there every day and pray to God that he sinks or swims. There does need to be built-in off days. The problem that I see with guys like Nelly V is there's so many built-in off days. And some of these guys are coming up real early and having, why can't the motto for all of it be these guys come up and they're immediately thrown into the fire and thrown into situations that are going to help them grow early on, like Estrada. I think that's exactly how this should have went. And I agree with you. When it comes to Morel, it's a different kind of development because he's been here for so long and now there's a book on him. But I just think that guys like Nelly V and Estrada, they need extra reps. And this is the only way that they're going to get it going into the offseason. And that's just my 2 cents on that. And I know that's just kind of been our conversation but yeah, man, I think the most frustrating part of today's game was just the fact that you could have won it if anybody with any type of talent is at the end of that bullpen and established roles are made, right? There's just not a lot of establishment at the end of this bullpen right now. There's really just not. And that's fine. You traded half of it. But I think the frustrating thing for us is we watched that and they lost 2 out of 3 to a team that's beatable. And the way they lost it was on the caution of guys who just aren't going to be here, like you said earlier.
Yeah. And I've got one kind of last thing that I want to share, and I'm going to build it off a couple of Fly the Dubs comments here in the comment section. First off, thank you, sir. We appreciate you joining the conversation with us here on YouTube.
Absolutely.
Secondly, I literally came back from looking it up, and his comment popped in here. Yes, Iowa plays all the way until September 28th, but all the other leagues, they're dwindling down. Playoffs are starting now. You're going to be at a South Bend playoff game at some point here, at your new home. But even then, right, to Fly the Dub's point earlier, you send them down now. That's a demoralizer, right? At this point, you might as well let them struggle at the major league level.
I don't know.
Send them to AAA. But
if Ross isn't going to play him,
agree.
Send him down. Send him down. I want the reps.
And I think that's where
I'm just on the whole idea of wherever he's going to play. I want the reps.
Agreed.
So if they're here, they should play. If you're not going to play him, Send him to AAA.
Agreed. And that's exactly kind of where I was going, right? It's if you're carrying them on the roster, you might as well use them, and you might as well play them in situations that mean something, right? And in a fair question, he says, doesn't Morel have over 300 ABs now? Not a small sample size. And fair, that is not a small sample size. Let me put that in context really quick. We all recall sitting here last year, right? Especially early in the season. We were all yelling that Nico Horner hasn't done anything. Nico Horner just finally had 1,000 career pro at-bats like this season. Took him 4 years to get there. Development doesn't happen in 300 at-bats. Not to the level of not everybody's Mike Trout or Bryce Harper and steps in and immediately is successful, right? That's just not reality. That's why they're the greatest of the greats of the sport, right? Greatest. I can't even speak English today. That's why they're the greats of the sport. In Morel's case, first off, he came from AA, which is a huge jump. Secondly, let's not forget that this is the first real season we've seen Nico Horner become Nico Horner that we all now love and endure. The glove has been there, right? He was a Gold Glove finalist in 2020 at second base in the NL. But the bat didn't come until this season. Now we're starting to see the Nico Horner that this team drafted, umpteen years ago, 5 years ago or whatever it is.
Sure.
I think that, like you said, right? 300 at-bats. Give me that 400 by the end of the season. And I don't know. I don't think mathematically he can physically get there. But give me 350 by the end of the season. I think he's 323 right now. So you can get a little over 350 for sure, assuming he plays every day. And I know he's not going to, whatever. But to your point, Juice, it's just why do football players practice 5 days out of the week or three? Well, it's really 3 days out of the week, only to play one game each week. It's repetition. It's building film. You create a scouting report. You create something that you can learn from. And I think that's, to your point, Juice, like you said, right? You figure out what guys are doing to you. In fairness, people might be like, well, Seiya Suzuki's a rookie and adjusting. Seiya Suzuki's also played pro ball in Japan for fucking ever. That dude's been playing since he was 19 in the Japan, in the pro league over in Japan. So he's played a lot of baseball, right? And he's just making the adjustment to what Major League is compared to Japan. I would argue Japan's a better league than probably AAA, truthfully. I know a lot of people are probably going to not like that, but it is what it is. They're still professional baseball players. A lot of MLB pros that can't make it over here go over there. You know what I mean? I agree with you in that sense, Juice, of he needs to, they need to build that book. And one more comment here from Fly the Dub. He says, Morel's ceiling is a utility guy, not like he's going to be another Brandon Davis. You don't know that. In fairness,
also too, ceiling here nor there. None of that matters right now, other than the fact that let him play. That's, you know what I mean. And that I think the whole idea of this conversation is that the way that David Ross is using these guys is just not fair to their development.
No,
I think that's kind of the way
just as injuries weren't fair to Nico's development.
Right. And every development's different. I mean, we're talking about guys like it's the same process.
I was just saying development's as unique as a fingerprint.
Yeah, it's not linear.
Everybody's different.
So I agree. I think that I'm in the middle on this because I think it depends on the player. And I think that the player and the owner or player and the manager need to have a conversation. But I mean, going to Estrada, if we're going to talk about Estrada, which was the root of this whole conversation,
I love how this thing spiraled.
He's got to play. He's got to pitch, and he just got here. It's time for him to be thrown into these high leverage situations to see if he can do it and to build off of something going into next year. So absolutely. I think that both of you are in this conversation are right. It's just a matter of the player it's different for every single one of them.
And to you, sir, Fly the Dub, in our comments, I'm not trying to argue with you to be a dick. It's good debate, right? This is good debate.
That's what makes the show great.
Exactly. This is what makes us different. Is we'll debate with people that are in the comments because it's fun and it's good content. And this is actually a good question, Juice. And he says, do you not think Ross isn't getting feedback from Jed as far as player usage and development? I think he is, but that's also a fair point right, how much of that conversation is being had now? Are they going to wait and do more in the off season? Like, you know what I mean? Like that, I think that's a fantastic question. You know
I wish
what I
I
mean?
was a fly on the wall.
Fly on the wall. I was literally just about to say that.
Because I wonder, I mean, it could have been as easily as hey, play him less down the stretch because he's been here for so Morel. You know, it could be, hey, play him less because he's been, you know, on the team for a while. Rest him down. That way we can get him, you know, into some development in the offseason. He can recover. But I don't know. I would love to be a conversation or a fly on the wall on that because there are so many variables to the fact of that question. You know, what was the workload for a pitcher? You know, I mean, for each position too, and each prospect, it's a different conversation. You know, for Morel, he's been here since May. So it could be two ways. It could be, hey, he's struggling, let's hide him a little bit and let him finish on maybe the somewhat high that he had when he came up.
Sure.
Or, you know, maybe the flip is on like Estrada. It's like maybe he's seen a lot of innings and he's kind of limited, but they wanted to bring him up to give him a little taste. So use it wisely. You know, maybe Jed came to Ross and said, hey, show Leiter, Wick, Rucker, all these guys, because I don't know if they're going to be here next year, and we might as well save some of our arms, you know, for down the line. There's just so many variables into that question that I think that makes it hard to answer because we don't know what they value. Do they value rest or do they value the
reps?
The reps. You know, I as a manager and as a player development, you know, opinion, I would want the reps, but that's me. And if I had a conversation with a player who told me, hey man, I'm running out of gas, then yeah, you got to protect your player because it's not worth him, you know, losing that development in the offseason either. You know, not having that full ramp up. But I don't know. I would love to have that conversation with Jed and ask those questions to David Ross. You know, what's the processes behind, you know, how you protect guys and, you know, utilize guys out of the pen who are young, and, you know, what are the levels of not just trust, but like expectation when you do bring up a guy. You know, are you bringing him up just to be an extra man that's on the, or are you going to be thrown right into the leverage of all of it and sink or swim? I just think that there's a lot of questions to that question that I don't think anybody has an answer to, other than the fact that we're going to figure it out over the course of this last month. We're absolutely going to see, you know, what they valued at the end of it, and we'll do an off-season show, and we'll say, well, you know what? At the end of it, they really wanted to get Morel, Nelly V, Estrada, Wisniewski just healthy into the offseason. And they didn't value the reps on a losing team as much as maybe the next guy did. And I think we should be able to talk about every single player and go to the end of this whole season and say, yeah, they probably did a mixture. They probably, you know, this guy got more reps towards the end of it. You know, this guy got held back because maybe he ran out of gas. There's just a lot of different questions on all of it. And I think for new guys who are coming up, I think they need the reps now. Guys like Morel, I think it becomes a different conversation that is very up to the debate as we pretty much circled around in here.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And just like Flight Dub says, hey, he loves the show. We appreciate you. We love you guys and love our listeners, because without you guys, again, the listeners that
and honestly, man, we got on this show before in the pre and we said, well, what are we going to talk about? You know, and the fact that we've done a whole episode on things that we never even thought we would bring up via the comments, I think is a testament to like how important the listener is to the show. Like, I mean, we can only sit and pull things out of our heads to talk about over and over and over but I think we dove into a conversation that isn't mainstream, not really at all. I mean, there are a lot of, every other show is going to talk a lot of Seiya Suzuki today, and he deserves it. He absolutely deserves it. He's been great, but the uniqueness of having the conversation back and forth, I think, is something that makes this show different. And we talk about a lot of different things that a lot of shows don't. I think that's the interesting part of the of today's show. No, and I Dub, I thank you so much for jumping into the comments, man, because we probably were going to do 15 minutes of your greatest hits if we didn't have it.
Absolutely. And just quickly from Fly the Dub, he says, Jed would never say he advises Ross on the decision, which is understandable. I completely agree on that. And then he also says, just keep saying after each loss, higher draft pick, higher draft pick, higher draft pick. And I agree. You know what? At this point, like, it's funny that you say – it's funny that he says that, too, in the comments here because – well, I'm not assuming gender. He, she. You can correct me. But nonetheless, I actually just had this thought the other day. So I'm actually happy that was mentioned because I saw the graphic. I don't remember where I saw it. It might have been Twitter. But it showed like where teams are right now in terms of like odds because of the lottery now that's happening. Yeah. And the Cubs are like 8. And I was like, is it bad that I wish it was higher? Yeah, I was like, is it bad that I wish it was a little higher? I was like, they played okay enough to like be stuck in that, like, you're kind of there, but you're kind of.
It's almost not. Like remember when the Bulls had Jimmy Butler and like the ghost of Derrick Rose, and they were like,
and they went like 40. They were like 41, yeah,
like for like consecutive years. That's exactly what like that pick is. It's
what it felt like.
Baseball hell, because and I've said this to you off the air. I think we talked about it on the show. There's like 5 A+ players in next year's draft. So it's like, yeah, get the odds into the top 5 before you're done, and you're probably walking away with a good player.
Yeah.
And if you're a Cub fan, you're really hoping that this is the last year you have to have these conversations, considering that they'll have so much money to spend. And this is maybe the last pure piece that you're adding to, hopefully a team that's closer to, maybe the 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th pick next year, fingers crossed. That's maybe where you're looking, where you're getting like a good baseball player, but you're kind of, betting on
maybe
definitely a guy who was passed over.
Maybe you're even like 20 next year.
Yeah, I mean,
right? Yeah. Like they got Wicks at 21, right? So like you still got a good ball player, but like yes, you were kind of hovering around like maybe that's where they end up. Who knows?
And that's that's the long and short. It's there's maybe 5 guys that are A+ players next year, in my opinion. That's my opinion on that. But yeah, I mean, that's to be seen.
Heck yeah, man, for sure. Well, I want to turn it back over to you just quickly. Do you have any final thoughts on this game? I have one final thought I want to share. It's very quick, but I want to give you the floor first.
I do. Wisniewski, man, he's nasty.
Oh yeah, we got it. I need to hear.
That's my final thought. That's my final thought.
He's nasty.
He's nasty.
Hey, I'll tell you what. We'll make sure that the next time he pitches, you're on the show, and then you can really dive in.
I want him to get a start before the end of the year. I hope that that's the plan. I don't know. Might be, might not. They might use him how they used him, the final 4 or 5. He was at Iowa. Mm-hmm. But as long as he's getting the 5 innings that he's getting to figure it out, if he's, on his game, I think that's, valuable reps. I also want him to pitch. The Cubs don't play a lot of like high level competition over the next month. So I want him to pitch in the Mets series. I absolutely want him to get some time there. Yeah, like I want him to see what teams who are towards the top, what their lineups look like and how his stuff plays. Because I think that the stepping stone for him for the offseason is have it play against the Mets or, somebody of that caliber.
Yeah.
And use that as his offseason to go, hey, your stuff played, man. You looked great. Come out here and compete for one of those 5 starting jobs. Mm-hmm. And I think that would be my blueprint. Hey, it's all going to be different the way people look at it. But I think, that fastball, that high, and that's his like 3rd best pitch. 95, 96. Like that's awesome. That I couldn't hit that slider with a tree if I could swing a tree. So I'm telling you, man, like that kid's, you could see why the Yankees didn't want to give him up because he's got stuff. And that's special. We've been talking about Justin Steele being the special lefty, right? I think I've identified who I think that special righty could be. That kid, he gets a changeup and he's able to throw that to lefties. That's special. Like
I was
that's
gonna say, and he threw that changeup on Tuesday. It actually got Fraley on a strikeout.
He's got to get consistent with it.
Mm-hmm.
But for that first debut, that was special. Like I don't want to go full meatball here, but I remember watching Mark Pryor's debut and watching the stuff. It's not similar.
No, I know.
But the feeling of it when you watched him, it's a comfort. And I haven't watched like a comfort from a guy like that was coming through the Cubs system in a long time. And like that just makes me excited because I know that there's tons of other prospects that are down in, triple A, double A, single A, high A that have great stuff too. But I mean, I've watched Wicks, I've watched Devers, I've watched, Caleb Killian.
Yeah.
But that gave me a different feeling. And that's impressive because I watched Wicks and I was like, that guy could pitch. And I watched Devers and I'm like, that guy could pitch. And Killian got nasty stuff if you ever figure out how to, locate better and be more under control. But man, like I watched, you're good when you can miss your spot and still make the hitter look silly. Yeah. And he did that often.
Yeah.
The other night. So I want him to build off of it. I want to see more. That's a great debut. And I went full meatball because of the debut. But I can see where his ceiling is if everything works out great.
Absolutely. And just one really quick thing, too, to add on Wisniewski that I noticed that I didn't bring up on Tuesday's show because we had Nick Kirby, now new friend of the program, probably the only Reds fan we'll ever allow on here, but that's okay. No, Nick was great on Tuesday. If you haven't listened to the episode, highly encourage it. But, I didn't even think about it until now. Wisniewski has a really weird, like, between pitch, like, routine.
Yeah,
like,
and I kind of love
a really weird, like.
Am I weird if I love it?
Like with the big tongue out, he's like, and it was like, but again, it's kind of like, it's funny. It's again, every person is a creature of habit. So if that's his habit, I'm cool with it. It's something I noticed that I'm like, I was like watching it happen, and I'm like,
he's got to add some Max Scherzer like psychopath shit in it. Like breathe in, have the tongue out, and then just like fuck you, motherfucker.
Some Lance Lim slap dick motherfucker, grab his nuts, type shit.
I think within time he'll get there, but I'm excited about him. I've seen things on Pitching Ninja and I've seen, but sitting and watching him do it over a course of a baseball game, that tickled my fancy.
I feel that completely, dude. One last comment here from Fly the Dub. He says they won't bring up any prospects who don't need to be protected for the Rule 5 draft. I completely agree. Yeah. He says like Mervis, and I agree. We won't see Mervis. And then he also says, here's Joey. He says, boys, that K-Strot combined with the weird shit could be a lot of fun. And I completely agree. My quick final thought actually involves a pitcher. Doesn't involve Wisniewski, however. Adrian Sampson had a nice day today. Got to give it props. 6+ innings, 5 hit, 1 run ball, only 1 strikeout, gave up the 1 home run. That was really the only damage he allowed against. Again, Sampson, not a big K guy. Nothing pretty. He's not the household name, but fuck, he gets the job done. And you know what? I appreciate a guy that can get the job done on a regular basis. So just a quick little shout out to Mr. Adrian Sampson on what was a pretty nice start today overall, despite the Cubs taking the
Yeah, he was great.
Yeah, but I don't need to get fired up again because I'm still angry about it. Nonetheless, we'll look ahead. Just a programming alert for those out there. Probably no show from us tomorrow with this Giants game coming up. Hoping to do a show maybe on Saturday night. It'll probably just be me if that's the case, but the boys will for sure be back Sunday night after Sunday Night Baseball. So do be sure to tune in with us live if you can. But let's get into it. At least for tomorrow's game, let's talk about it because it's a pair of lefties on the bump as the Cubs welcome the San Francisco Giants to town. This one's a 3:05 start on a Friday. Very strange. Nonetheless, at beautiful Wrigley Field. you're somehow out in the San Fran market and you're a big Cubs fan, first off, we applaud you. Second off, you can listen to this game on KNBR 680, or you can also watch on NBC Sports Bay Area. And if you're in Chicago, you know the drill, 670 The Score, WRTO 1200, and Marquee Sports Network, as well as MLB Network for out-of-market only customers, consumers, watchers, viewers, whatever word you want to insert there. But this will be an MLB Network game tomorrow for out-of-market viewers, I guess is the word we'll use. On the bump for the Giants, he's back in Chicago, and I bet the Sox would love to have him. Carlos Rodon's on the mound tomorrow for the Giants, 12-7 on the season with a 2.92 ERA and a 201 strikeouts. He has been as advertised for this one. And on the bump on the other side, it's the guy that Juice swears the Atlanta Braves needed to trade for in order to win the World Series this year. It's Drew Smyly on the bump tomorrow. He's 5-8 on the year with a 3.84 ERA. Juice, quick thoughts, feelings, predictions, whatever you have for me about tomorrow's game. I can't wait to hear it. What do you got, my friend?
Yeah, it'd be nice to see if the Braves' missing piece would bounce back from his bad start the last time out. Just development. You know, I would love to see Seiya Suzuki continue. Love to see Nico Horner put the cherry on top of his season, Ian Happ. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the rest of the year, right? We could pretty much sum up the end of these thoughts. It's the same way over and over. It's let's see young players on the Cubs do good things throughout the end of this. And regardless of the wins or the losses, if they go out with one thing that one prospect showed us or one maybe core piece showed us throughout the game, I think it makes the losses feel a little bit better and the wins taste that much sweeter. So go out there against a good pitcher, put good at-bats together, and who knows? Carlos Rodon on a 1-year contract, right? So he will be available again. Wouldn't be surprised if the Cubs are in on that. They will be probably in on some pitching, I'm sure, as well as the big names in the free agency market. So maybe. I don't know.
It's his audition for his next contract. Yeah, he has an option, I think. I think it's a player option, though. So
he's going to take it, though.
Out of that.
Yeah,
he's opting out of that. He's going to the market after the season he's had. I mean, really, the only reason he's not the NL Cy Young winner is just because there's some guys that are in better teams that have had monster seasons, but really good season from him nonetheless. I agree with you, Juice. I think that's a great way to approach really the rest of the season for the Cubs. But I think tomorrow, I'd like to see them beat Carlos Rodon up just a little bit. I don't expect them to get 7 runs off of him or anything like that, but if you could put together really, like you said, really good at bats, you force him into some pressure. Maybe you get a couple of early runs and you have a lead, and he comes out of the game. Just try and hold on to it. Again, you learn from winning. Winning can help you learn. It helps you develop. Put them in a situation. Put the team in a situation, to have to battle the bullpen for the Giants. Get through it, and hopefully the Cubs bullpen can come through it and take care of business as well. I'd expect Smyly to at least go 5 tomorrow. Maybe even goes longer. He's been going a lot longer. Most recent starts. I think if he's rolling tomorrow, that he can get 6 or 7. So we'll see what happens. But Juice. Also, really quick here before we wrap this thing up, who's your Fly the W player for this upcoming Giants series?
I'll continue with the hot hand. I'll go Seiya Suzuki. I think that
I like it.
He's the type of guy who could put together good at-bats against a really tough pitcher. And I'm really interested to see the matchup for tomorrow's game with him in Rondon, because I really think that that's a good test for him. And I think that that's a good thing to keep building on, and could maybe add more, hey, I've arrived moments for him going into tomorrow's ball game. Yeah, tomorrow's ball game.
I like it. I like it a lot. I'm going to ride with a guy. Again, I seem to have this heater going lately, Juice.
You do. You're on fire, man.
Season. Yeah, we're just like, I say this guy needs to do something and step up, and they turn it around. Right? We had it with Javier Assad. I was like, just give me 5 innings. And he gave me 5 innings. And I said, I need Seiya Suzuki to turn it around. He's my Fly the W pick. Had a damn good series. I'm going to ride with a guy that's been a little cold. I'm going to go Nico Horner as my Fly the W pick. He's been cold. Been very cold, actually, for his standards. In his last 7 games, he's only slashing 231, 286. He's still slugging 462. That's pretty nice. In his last 15, he's hitting 268. Again, this is a guy that over the course of the season still hitting 285. So I want to see Nico Horner come through big in this series, get a bunch of base hits, turn it around, be the stud that he is, and just keep it going. And really quick, Mr. Joey, you missed it at the top of the show. We got new backgrounds, dude. What is this new fire background? It's the new logo.
Joey Cheese.
Joey Cheese. But for anybody that hasn't been following along with us recently, or maybe you're new, we did a little rebrand with our Sports Illustrated launch for On Tap Sportsnet. Cubs on Tap has a new look, new logo, and now we got new backgrounds to match it. Which we're very excited about. Again, big shout out to Brian Lefevre for putting those together and dropping those today. This is literally, these are fresh. These have only been
new look, same crazy hosts.
Yeah, same crazy bastards. That's all we do here. But nonetheless, we got a new look, at least for the rest of the season. It'll be good. But Juice, I always want to remind our listeners before we get out of here that Cubs on Tap is the official Cubs podcast of the On Tap Sports Network. You can check out all of our great work over at ontapsportsnet.com and at ontapsportsnet on social media. You can listen to the podcast wherever you listen to your podcast. Please like, rate, review, give us 5 stars if you love us. We certainly appreciate it. It gives us some good pub and some suggestions for people as well. You can follow us here at the Pod Specific accounts on social media at Cubbies on Tap, CUBBIES. That's Twitter and Instagram. I am at Luce on Tap on the Bluebird app. Juice is at Juice on Tap on the Bluebird app. Joey is at Joey Knows Nothing. Tyler Edmonds is at Teddy Freddy 270, and then at Brandon M. Kane and at Bulls Guy Rob, who also help out here on the Cubs side of the house. Bulls, Bears, Blackhawks, we got it all. There's Bears football this weekend. There's NFL football tonight, folks. We're very excited about that. And yes, again, Cubs fans, we all have friends that like the Sox. First off, go give them a hug. They need it. Second off, send them over to our boys at Sox on Tap. They do a great job covering the Southsiders. So once again, ontapsportsnet.com, at OnTapSportsnet on social media. The On Tap Sports Network. Go ahead and check out what's on tap in Chicago sports. Little Yumper, thank you, our friend. We appreciate it. Big news, big shit coming here. And trust me, we got an electric offseason lined up too. I know there's a lot of baseball left, not trying to get too far ahead of ourselves. But we got some plans for the offseason, and next season will be a lot of fun too. Juice, I think you have something you're ready to show the people before we get out of here. You got
I was waiting for the get out of here call first.
Oh, all right. Well, we are going to get out of here the only way we know how, at Cubs on Tap. Juice, what do you got for me?
The coach says FTC and bear down, my friends.
And let's go, Cubbies.